Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Red Storm Chasers. I'm Vincent here with Tim and Nick. On this episode, we'll look back at a very solid victory against Xavier and a hard-fought loss to Connecticut while we look ahead to the Hofstra matchup at UBS Arena. How's everyone doing? Everyone have a good Christmas out there?
I had a great Christmas. It was great spending time with the fam and everybody.
Tim, you had a good Christmas?
Pretty good for me. Got to do a full dinner set up with that. My star had a great time with all her gifts. We probably had upwards to over 35 total
Nice.
gifts.
Good for
Now,
her.
I mean, you got some small ones in there, but she also got I don't know how to explain it. It's the bar for gymnastics, but it's like one of the two for a uneven bars. It's just the
Gotcha.
one bar.
All right. Well, that's
And,
good. Good
Yeah,
gift.
so she loves that right now.
All right. Either of you get anything really exciting for a gift?
I got I have an N64. I've been building a collection. I got 4 new N64 games. I got Mario Party, Super Smash, Pokemon Snap, and 007 GoldenEye.
I got you one of those games for Christmas, so I was
I know,
aware
thank you.
of
I
you
appreciate
building your
that.
N64 repertoire. We got you the Mario Party, always a classic. Big fan. I'm a big fan of Mario Party, or I was a big fan of the older one as well. So made
All
sense.
Mario
as a
Parties
kid.
are great.
All right. Well, we're kind of in that week between Christmas and New Year's. So my question for you guys this week is: what should St. John's New Year's resolution be? What should this team's New Year's resolution be?
I mean, watching the games, the idea of shooting at least a minimum of 33% from the 3-point line. I think that should be it.
All right. I like that.
People watching the last game, we'll talk about free throw shooting, but I think just having a consistent 33% from the 3-point line as a team will keep us in the running or possibly keep us ahead of the score where the free throws don't matter as much at the end.
I like that resolution. Nick, you got a resolution for the team?
Yeah, I just think we got coming down the stretch, we got to hit our free throws. I mean,
All right.
I feel like free throws have always been a problem of ours, even though we didn't shoot bad against UConn. But down the stretch, we did miss a couple that just dug in a little bit, and it's always the ones at the end that dig in a little more.
For sure. Both good resolutions, I believe. I agree with both of those resolutions. Mine was going to be in line with you, Tim. I think our resolution should be to try to consistently shoot above 30% from three. And that will lead us to a victorious, or I should say, a hopefully victorious season with a winning record and on the right path. Well, we're still in 2023. So before we get going, let's look back at this doubleheader week that kicked off the Big East season. Kind of weird that we have Hofstra in the middle, but it was the Big East start to the season for everybody. And to be honest, great way to start off the season, right? First game, 81-66 win against Xavier. We never trailed. This is, exactly what we were looking for when we said that this game was basically a must win because Xavier is a team we're going to be battling with for seeding when it comes time for the Big East tournament. And you look at the numbers like me and Tim talked about and Nick mentioned, 35% from three, 66% from the line is a little low. But fortunately, we were ahead by so much, there wasn't as much fouling down the end. 46% from the field is pretty good. That's a good day. When we had put up those numbers, when we're putting up 46 from the field and 35 from three, most likely we're going to be on the winning side of that game. And I mean, that's exactly what happened. We had 4 of our 5 starters. Only Glenn Taylor didn't have double digits. We even had Dingle get 10 off the bench. So it was all around a great effort. And, I couldn't have been happier with that performance on Wednesday.
I mean, as a whole, defensively, offensively, it was a full court effort. We didn't need to rebound as much as we usually do just because we were shooting over 46% from the field. That much going in, you're expected to possibly lose on the free throw. I mean, on the rebounding line. 3-point shooting, 35%. Defensively, they shot 19. those are the kind of numbers that really do help, and those will especially help if we make it into the NCAA tournament this year. So I think those kind of stats, looking at that for the future, those are two good signs.
I think
Absolutely.
Soriano was just absolutely dominant. We looked absolutely incredible against Xavier. Xavier is what I hoped and dreamed we would look like every single game this season. And against the bad teams, we kind of have,
Yeah,
but against the good teams, we haven't.
for sure. And you are right. I mean, 6 blocks in the game, 18 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists for Soriano. I mean, he had a hell of a game.
And he looked like it was so easy. Everything seemed so easy for him the entire game. And it was awesome watching it. It was just so amazing.
All right. So, what were you most impressed by, I guess, besides Joel Soriano in this game?
So besides having Joel Soriano having a dominant game, Naheem Aline jumping into the starter role, I think did a perfect job there. He did shoot 11 shots. He made 6 of them though. He wasn't taking unnecessary shots. He knows he's not the third scorer on the team. Having him in the starting rotation, having him play 33 minutes, it was the perfect fit. 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, only committing 3 fouls.
Yeah, no, Aline had a great game. I mean, it was nice to see that for him, and listen, not that he hasn't had good games or that he hasn't played well, but I do agree. I think he kind of stepped out a little bit, which is good to see that we have other guys who can do that, who can come out and all of a sudden, give you something you haven't seen before. Nick, what were you most impressed by?
We went up at the beginning of the game. What was it, like 12-3 or something? We went up real quick.
Mhm.
And then we never looked back. We never really took our foot off the gas. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was always scary because it's always scary being a St. John's fan. But we were always in control. I would say the entire game. It felt like at least. And I would also say how we turned them over 18 times, and it seemed like we were forcing them over left and right. But I
Yeah.
do want to mention that they only shot 19% from 3, shooting 4 for 21. So some of that was because we played good defense, and some of it was also because they just missed a couple shots. But hey, it's a game of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, those are multiple things to be impressed by, not just one. Nick followed
What about
the Craig mantra there. Just I'm gonna pick
somebody had
I'm gonna pick 3 things that I want to impress by. But along the same vein, what I think I was most impressed by is we didn't have that scoring drought that we're so typical to have, right? That we so typically have. It's we didn't have that. We didn't have a long stretch period where we weren't scoring, where we weren't doing what we should be doing on offense. And obviously it leads to a positive result. That's how you get to 81 points. That's how you keep your foot on the gas when you're ahead in a game like this. And I think it all came together for us in this game. And it showed that, listen, when the pieces do come together, this is a team that's a force. This is a team that can score 81 points and can hold you to, under 65. And this is
I
a
mean, wait,
team that you don't necessarily want to match up with when they're clicking.
yeah, it certainly shows that we're a force to be reckoned with in the Big East on the first night of the Big East, coming out and beating Xavier when people were wondering where we're at. People are, I think people gave us credit because we're St. John's, but people were also seeing where's Xavier at because they're not a terrible team. They're not a great team, but they're not a terrible team. When we came out, we absolutely demolished them. So it's like, okay, like we're going to be a player in the Big East. Going into the UConn game, there's a little, I don't know, it felt like we had a little more juice than normal.
Well, it certainly was a happy Wednesday. I can say that for sure. Unfortunately, it wasn't a happiness that lasted for the rest of the week because we had the tough loss in Hartford, 69-65 against the number 5 UConn Huskies on Saturday. Listen, before we get into the numbers, it stings. It's a stinging loss because it's a loss where, listen, you're playing with house money. So, you're playing in Hartford. They're number 5 in the country. They're coming off a loss against Seton Hall on Wednesday. Obviously, they're looking to bounce back. They did lose their big man, but it's again, this is a game you're not supposed to win, right?
Right.
The problem is in pure St. John's fashion, we were right there. we could have won this game. We get a few free throws, we get a few more buckets that fall our way, and it's a different game, and we do walk away with a victory. So I think that's what was most stinging about this.
Yeah.
But just looking at the numbers, we missed the 30% mark for three. 22% from three is where we shot. 75% from the free throw line, pretty good. 38 from the field is not good for us. On days when we shoot less than 40, it's going to be a struggle to come away with a win. Did a good job holding them down from threes, though. They only shot 27%. They did shoot 43% from the field, which obviously is not great for us to allow that. But listen, at the end of the day, they turned the ball over more than we did, 8-6, and our guys played pretty well. I think that's when you look at it, that's what you got to say.
I would say we played extremely well the entire game. There was not a minute in the game where we weren't in it or even up. There was literally just probably, I remember 2 or 3 wide open threes that it was perfect. Somebody drove through the lane, kicked out, and then they swung the ball around and into a wide open shot. Those are the ones we got to hit.
Yeah.
Wide open ones, no one around you. Those, we lost by 4, right? 2 threes, that's a win. We come down, we miss. I mean, again, we shot to 21 for 28 from free throw, so that's 75%. It's pretty good. But we made a couple more down the end. It's the little things, and we played amazing.
It is where the free throws come, right? I mean, we were 75%, which is a good percentage. However, RJ Lewis missing free throws down the end, Chris Ledlam missing free throws down the end. Those are the ones that come back to hurt you because they're in the critical spot. I mean, obviously all missed free throws hurt, but in critical moments, they make critical things happen. So if you're missing free throws with 17 seconds to go, or you're missing free throws off a steal like Lewis did, it kills some of your momentum and it stops the comeback that's happening. Yeah. And I think that's why those kind of sting a bit more, missing down the stretch instead of just missing, throughout.
But if you look at with Ledlam, he was really 0 for 3. He was 1 for 3 because the lane violation on the first free throw in the beginning of the game.
That's a good point.
He would have been 0 for 3 on that. And we can't forget the fact that, he's a great shooter, 65% career free throw shooter. He's one of those guys that he's not putting up the 70 up, which you watch his game, you expect that. Unfortunately, he is about 65% free throw career shooter. So we're going to have those ups and downs.
Yeah.
When he's in the court.
Yeah, it's certainly tough when you're in a big spot like that. And even though he's only a 65% shooter, you're hoping at the moment he's hitting, the higher point of the average, not the lower point, but not much you can do. But as I said, and I think as painful as it was, I think there is a silver lining to take away from this game. Okay, so we could have won this game, right? But I think like we said at the beginning, like Nick said, I should say, after the Xavier dominating win, it shows that we're a contender this year. We're not just, hey, we're going to have a fluke good game every once in a while, like when we beat them last year at Connecticut. We played with them the entire time. We had a dominant win on Wednesday. And I think it showed that, listen, St. John's is here to play. We've heard the hype all off season. And in the first 2 Big East games, I don't think we disappointed. I think we lived up to the billing in terms of what we were meant to be this season.
It does show that our net ranking actually went up. We improved our net ranking after a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing I want to point out is that Dingle has gotten the most. He's been our 6th man in both the last 2 games, and I'm excited for Dingle. Man, if he could just hit a couple more of those shots, if he can come in, be our 6th man off the bench, bang a couple threes, man, we could be living in the.
If he goes 3 for 5 from 3 instead of 1 from 5,
Yeah.
What are we look? We're looking at a very different start to the week. So, but overall, I think we can walk away and be like, hey, take the positive from the game.
I mean, I want to talk positives, but I do want to bring up one thing of Dennis Jenkins at times just makes me want to pull my fucking hair out. It is what it is. He
Yeah.
is he's so talented, but there's times where it's like he shot that three at the end. Why at that moment did you shoot that three?
Yeah.
You
He
were one
certainly
for
needs to
five
get
at that
better at
point.
that.
It's infuriating because you see him, he makes good passes, he reads the defense, and then there's unnecessary shots. It feels like he has a shot in his mind, and if he sees any opening, he's gonna take it immediately.
It,
And then there's
it,
other
it
times
can be
where
frustrating for sure.
other times he's reading the defense, and all of a sudden we have five passes to happen. A guy's open the corner, like Glenn Taylor when he was open in the corner for a three. Same person, two wildly different reactions.
I agree with you. Jenkins sometimes has he's brilliant. Sometimes he cut through the lane, making a brilliant pass, and then at other times you're like, why would you make that decision? And it's he's done a lot less on the passing end, and now he's doing a little more on the shooting. So we got to find a beautiful middle there somewhere.
It happens. I mean, I'm with you. It can be frustrating. And listen, he's probably frustrated as well. He had 4 of 13 shooting on the day. Certainly not the numbers he's looking for. I mean, he still had 13 points, but that is something he's got to kind of lock down on. Is like, hey, listen, I'm not shooting well, or hey, we don't need the 3 in this spot. That's definitely something to work on for sure. But anyway, let's take a look. I think we need to take a little look at the big picture. So I know it's our first week of Big East play. And now we have a bit of a break. We play Hofstra, but all the Big East teams are off. But let's just take a look at the Big East as a whole, to see how this Big East play has started out. So obviously the Seton Hall beat of UConn was shocking, but that wasn't the only shocking loss. Marquette also went down. Creighton also went down, all on Wednesday. It was, an exciting night to start the Big East, for sure. So now we find ourselves at 1-1. So does UConn, Seton Hall, and Xavier all 1-1 because Xavier, after getting blown out by us, went and beat Seton Hall. I talk about the real Big East showing there. Butler and Marquette also 1-1. Creighton only played one game. They were 0-1. DePaul also 0-1. Poor DePaul. And then Georgetown 0-2. Leading the conference so far, 2-0, is both Providence and Villanova. So
how about that? Providence 2-0, Georgetown 0-2.
Yeah.
Oh,
big turnaround for Ed Cooley. Good luck, pal.
Yep.
But I think it shows kind of what the Big East is going to be like this year. I think, yes, Marquette is a top 10 team. UConn's a top 10 team. Creighton was a top 10 team. They're ranked. Providence is ranked, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to be a bloodbath, right? It's going to be a constant fight every night, which is what we saw. You couldn't have been disappointed if you wanted real Big East basketball this past week. It's exactly what you're looking for. Seton Hall upsetting
The Big East has
UConn.
proven. Sorry, the Big East has proven that it is the best conference in the country.
Oh yeah,
in my eyes, and pretty much everybody. Everybody all of a sudden turned it. Was like, oh wow, how is Big East? Every year they're always surprised.
Yeah, I think this was a good sample of like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is what the Big East is like. UConn, great, only one loss. All of a sudden, first night, bang, knocked out. I think I think it was a great microcosm of what this season is going to be like. Like you talked about, Tim, our net ranking jumped right away. We're now 52 in the net ranking. So good to be in that top, above 75. Heading in the right direction. Bracketology, way too early, in my opinion. Bracketology came out. Right now we're the next 4 out. But you know what? That's okay. I think that's a fair spot for us right now. We haven't had those great wins yet.
Yeah.
We haven't had terrible losses though. So, we're kind of right on the bubble right now. The hope is that heads in the right direction, but at the end of the day, I think that's a fair placement for us right now. And, that's kind of where things sit at the moment as we are in this little off week here where we play Hofstra before heading into the full Big East slate.
Yeah, I think that's very appropriate right now. And if we can win some games in the Big East that people don't think we're going to win, and we can finish top 5 in the Big East. Hey, if we can finish 5 or 6 or 7, Probably if we can finish 5 or 6 in the biggies, we're gonna be in the tournament. I would say.
But yeah, we'll
Sure.
be right there. All right. So that brings us to the spotlight player of the week. Again, this is exactly, these are two real games here. Big East competition. Nick, let's start with you. Who do you got?
I think you got to go with Joel Soriano. He was absolutely, and he got started slow in the first half of the Xavier game, and he was dominant in the second half of the Xavier game. In UConn, he was a problem the entire time for them, and yeah, it's got to be Joel Soriano, in my opinion.
All right. Tim, who do you got?
I got nothing that creative to counter that. It is Joel. It's really no other choice. Naheem did not show up in the second game against UConn. A little spotlight gets put on RJ Luis for being back, so that's exciting. But Joel, 2 double doubles, best player both times. You gotta go with him.
Well, Joel Soriano wins, but I'm not going to vote for him. I'm going to vote for Jordan Dingle. I think he, like Nick talked about, he's been the sixth man. He played great in these two games. 9 points against UConn, 10 points against Xavier. He played his role exactly as he's supposed to. And I think he's really moving in the direction we kind of expected him to be. And I think this is the first time he really showed that. So I'll give him a little shout out, even though he's not going to win. It is Joel Soriano for our Spotlight Player of the Week.
It's third time, I believe.
It
Craig's
is
not
his.
here again.
Well, Craig's not here again, but it was, yes. This is his
What are we
third.
paying this guy for?
This is his third time being the Spotlight Player of the Week. We'll hope some other people step up and can not that I am rooting against Joel Soriano, but I just want some other guys to get a little spotlight, get a little.
If we get another spotlight player other than Soriano, we'll be winning a lot more games.
I'm saying
Because he's still
Yeah.
going to be doing his thing.
I'm predicting RJ Luis for the next one.
there you go. I like it. I like a little prediction. Put some odds on it. Let's get some money going. But I can see that he had played very well. It's nice to have him back. I think he could be a great asset to us if he continues to play like he played in the UConn game for sure.
I'm excited to see what RJ Lewis can bring to the table for sure, without a doubt.
Well, this is a light week. Only one game. It's Hofstra at UBS Arena on Saturday. The game's noon on Fox Sports 1 if you're watching at home. The Pride coming in 7-5 on the season. No real impressive wins for them this year, but to be honest, no bad losses. Their losses are against kind of the teams on their schedule you expect them to lose to: Duke, UNLV, St. Louis, Princeton, who's very good this year. So they're kind of as billed. They're picked to finish third in the CAA. And listen, Hofstra's not a team you can overlook, right? They're not no offense to Manhattan, but they're not a school like Manhattan where you kind of expect to just run through them. They're a team who's been to the tournament. They're a team who can make the tournament from the CAA. And I think out in UBS Arena, it was an interesting pick for this game because I think the fan base could be fairly split. Obviously, Hofstra fairly close to UBS Arena. So I don't love that this game is there. But at the end of the day, so far this season, we've won all the games we were supposed to win, at least, the cupcake games, if you will. So I think you have to walk in with that same mindset.
Yeah, I don't like playing at UBS Arena. I mean, especially, what was us from New Jersey mainly, but it's just annoying going all the way out there. And also, like, why are we gonna help Hofstra get closer so their fan base can be closer? Why don't we do it in the Garden? Get them a little bit further away.
So I
St.
Well,
John's
I think the preference would be the Garden, but I think that was this was a negotiating move. My guess.
What I really think this is I think this is in a very good way. St. John's trying to really be New York's team in the sense that we play all around the city, right? You can see us play at the Garden. You can see us play at the Barclays. You can see us at UBS. And sure, it doesn't really make sense because they're a team on Long Island, but at the same time, for UBS, it makes sense, right? If they're going to take us for other games and have us play teams where they may not do as well in ticket sales, I could see them, like Tim said, as part of the contract or negotiating, be like, listen, that's fine. You can come play DePaul here, but you also have to play Hofstra because we know we're going to have a good night in terms of sales. But I think it's a great move by St. John's to play all around the city. I think listen, we are the New York City team. So be the New York City team. Play all around New York City. Play at all the area arenas that you can to give people the experience to be able to come out to St. John's without always having to go to Manhattan or Queens.
That's fair. I just wish it wasn't Hofstra. To your point, I wish it wasn't Hofstra. Wish it was Kansas, and I wish we won that game.
Yeah. The flashbacks. All right, so Tyler Thomas is their leading scorer, 22 points a game. He does an absolute phenomenal job, shoots 41% from the field, 94% from the free throw line, and 39.5% from three. He will be their, force to be reckoned with, if you will, and he'll be their number one guy to keep an eye on. However, Darlin Stone Dubar also averages 17.8 points a game, 6 rebounds. He's also no slouch, 53% from the field, 40% from three. So they're two guards. They're the guys who you're gonna have to keep an eye on because they're the two guys who are gonna be the guys that, as we know as St. John's fans, come out and have big nights, particularly at UBS in front of what's gonna be I think a split crowd. They're going to be the guys who we're going to be, banging our heads against the wall as we see them shooting and making wide open threes.
Yeah, you got the combination of Carlos passing to Thomas and Dubar. It's going to be a tough combination. Fortunately, their two guards are 6 foot and 6'3". We got some height on them. We just got to make sure we don't get blown past like we did in our previous losses where little guys actually made it past us. So we have the size. I think we can utilize that and really take advantage pretty quickly. And unlike the last game against UConn, Joel needs more than 5 attempts from the field. I know he shot a bunch of free throws. 5 shots from the field, that needs to at least be 8. I think that's going to matter.
Absolutely. And so the Jaco Fritz is their big guy. He's 6'10". He's from the Netherlands. He's going to be the guy that Soriano matches up against. This is certainly a matchup that is very heavily in Soriano's favor. But going back to what you said, we did a terrible job of exploiting the Clinigan injury at UConn, right? We should have been feeding Joel Soriano the ball nonstop. It should have just been a Joel Soriano fest in the sense that he should have touched the ball on every possession. Now, I don't know. He got in foul trouble. He was out for 5 minutes, which may have been the difference in the game. But we certainly should have exploited it, and the same should go in this Hofstra game. Joel Soriano is better than Fritz. I mean, just flat out better. There's no reason he shouldn't have a dominant night down low, and we need to make sure that he has that. Because I think in order for us to have successful nights, we do need to ensure that Joel Soriano also has successful nights, not just double-double nights, successful nights where he's dominant in the paint. And that's what we lacked in the UConn game. And obviously, I know this is a smaller scale, but I think that's something we can certainly exploit here against Hofstra.
With Soriano getting in foul trouble, the one thing I've always noticed is the statement of the best defense is a great offense. He gets in less foul trouble when he is scoring a lot because he's already putting the other big man in foul trouble. So they're playing softer, they're playing less risky, and they don't want to take an offensive against Soriano. So I think we have to get him scoring. We have to have him dominant, and that will also keep him out of foul trouble.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do want to note is, I know you guys said the other way, but Jaquan Carlos, Tim mentioned him. He averages 7 assists a game. That's 6th in the country. So he will be definitely another accessory to watch.
I mean, that he's their point guard, so we'll have to do a good job on defense to stop him from getting the ball flowing for Hofstra. So I
Also,
think
I'm sorry. One more quick note. Hofstra's 94 in the net ranking, so
There you go.
it's top 100.
top 100, not bad. So I think we're all predicting a win, right? I think it's safe to say that. But how do you see this one playing out? What do you think? A close win, a blowout win? Tim, how do you feel going into this one?
For this one, I don't think it's gonna be that close at all. I think by halftime we'll probably be up 13-14. That would be my guess. And in the game, I could see us easily 19-20.
Like a
I wouldn't be
nice
surprised.
smooth victory.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas put the line at like 20.5.
All right, Nick, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good about this game. I don't know if I think we're probably going to be up by somewhere between 4 and 6 going in the half, maybe 4 to 8 going in the half, and then I think by the end we win it by 12-14.
So
But I
again,
think we handle them in the second half. We get punched in the mouth right out of the halftime, and then we figure it out. That's my guess.
all right. So Nick, a smooth victory, but a little bumpy there at halftime. Tim, smooth the whole way, smooth like butter, up
What
to
about
a
you, Vincenzo?
20-point win. Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I think Hofstra plays big in UBS coming out, hoping that they have a bit of a fan base there. I could see the first half being a bit back and forth, them really being in it. I think a close halftime is sort of similar to what you said. But I think we do pull away clear in the second half and walk away with double digit for sure, probably above 15-point win, and move ourselves into head into 2024 with a nice victory, head into the full Big East slate with a little bit of a bounce back win after that disappointing UConn loss.
Yeah, gotta get back into the black for UBS. So win's gonna be very important. And I'll say this: if that line is 10 points or less, hard money has gone St. John's.
No, don't bet on St. John's. You can't bet on St.
Oh,
John's. No, don't
I'm
do it.
not. I'm not allowed to bet on St. John's. I understand that. I don't do it anymore.
That's good. That's good for everybody. Everybody hearing that is good.
I learned that financially and through the misery. So I don't do it. But if you're gambling, I would say
Yeah,
3 units.
I think 10's a little hard, 10's a little low for us to be favored. I know it's at UBS, but still we're a better team than that. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for Tim and Nick. I'm Vincent. Go Johnnies. Keep chasing.